You can be incredibly smart at your job, but still be terrible at presentations. Not because you're bad at speaking, but because you were never taught how. And no, it's not as easy as just opening your mouth and just winging it. I thought it was, but I was wrong. And I realized it's only 3 stages, and most people only do 1. And by the end of this video, you'll know what to do before, during, and after your presentation at work, so when all eyes are on you, you're ready. And before I get into it, if you want the influential presentation framework, check out the link below for this post and I will send you that across for free. It will also come with 11 emails to support you in the process. You need a plan of action. Like, you don't get in the car not knowing where you're going to go. You have an A point and you have a B point. Now, that could be going to the shop to grab eggs. It could be going to the gym. It could be picking up your son. But there's a reason you've got in your car. You got to do the same thing with your presentation. There's a reason you're speaking. Now, the A point is where you are right now when you walk into the room. The B point is what you want out of your listeners. What do you want them to think, feel, or do after listening to you? That's the whole reason you're speaking in the first place. Because once you know that, you can then plan accordingly. What points will support that action? Now, you might have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. I wouldn't recommend going any more than 5. Because if I gave you my phone number right now, you're not going to remember that straight away. There's too many things. Now, if you put too many points in your presentation, when they walk away, they won't remember. That's why having less points is sometimes better. But with those points, it's not as simple as having points in your presentation. You need to make sure they remember the points by having a memory device attached to that point. Now, here are your options for memory devices. Stories, that's going to make people feel it. Activities, that's going to involve people in it. You've got analogies, that's going to make people understand it. So if you've got a real complex topic, your analogies might be your best bet. And then you've got acronyms. It's just an easier way for people to remember it. And that is now the substance of your speech. That is the plan of your speech. Now, once you've got the plan, you can go on to the next stage. And it's rehearsing your speech. Because when I was in my fighting career, my coach would often ring me and he'd go, Staff, I've got you a fight, it's in 8 weeks. I'd be like, sweet. So I would then plan my camp for those 8 weeks. Then after I've done the plan, I've done what days I'm wrestling, what days I'm striking, what days I'm sparring, I would then rehearse. I would put in the reps. I would train 2 or 3 times a day to make sure when I go out on that day, in 8 weeks' time, when I go to fight, I'm ready. But this is the misconception. People think, oh, because I can communicate, I don't need to practice. But there was never once that I didn't train for a fight. It'd be barbaric. You think, oh, a fighter gets a fight, he just stops training. He just stops training and he doesn't turn up anymore. The reason they train is to make sure they don't fumble, to make sure their cardio's on point, to make sure their technique's on point, to make sure they can shine when the lights are on them. Public speaking, presentations are no different. The best public speakers are the ones that rehearse it. That's why it looks clean, because they've done it over and over again. Just like when I went into the cage, I had thrown thousands of calf kicks all camp. So when I threw my first calf kick in the fight, I would wipe the opponent out because I practiced it. I drilled it over and over again. Now, this is the best way that you can rehearse your presentations to make sure you are crisp and you are clean when you get out on that stage. Number 1 is reading it. Read your script. Once you've read your script, you are then going to go into stage 2. Stage 2 is just writing something that reminds you of that paragraph. Something that sparks a memory. So when I'm practicing my speech, I will look on my notepad and that word is just to remind me about that paragraph. And step number 3 is reading without that script. And that is how I go through practicing my presentations so I know exactly what I'm going to say when I go out on that stage. And the last section of what you do before a speech is handling your nerves. Because when coach gave me a ring and he told me who I was fighting, I'd get that feeling in my stomach. I'd YouTube him, I'd look at his technique, I'd look how he'd move, I'd look how he threw his right hand. I'd get those butterflies in my stomach. You see, every time that I watched my opponents, I started to get nervous. And this was the case for the first 5 years of my career. And sometimes it would even affect my performance in the first couple minutes. And you probably know the same thing. When you give a presentation, the first couple minutes are awful. You're speaking really fast, you're tripping over your tongue. So how can you go out there in a way that you feel calm from the get-go? Well, it's by doing a workout, a pre-game workout, because before my MMA fights, I would do a pre-fight workout to blow out my lungs, to get my heart rate nice and high, so then after, it allowed it to calm down. So by going on a 20-minute jog, by doing some sprints, by going to the gym, by releasing that stress through exercise, when you come to do your presentation, trust me, you'll be more relaxed. It'll be like normal. You'll be like, oh, I'm glad I did that workout before, because when I started doing these workouts for my fighting, the nerves weren't taking over anymore. I was ready from the get-go. And I used that same strategy and implemented it into my speeches. So when I have a big speech coming up, a big presentation, I go to the gym. I red zone it. I get an hard session. I even go with my mates so I can red zone it even more. I can get right to the top of my heart rate and I can push it to the limit. Because I know if I do that in the morning, when it comes to the afternoon, my nervous system, my heart rate, it's a lot lower. So I feel calm. And because I'm calm, I can then shine my personality when I'm giving that speech so I can build that connection a little bit better. But that's the first stage of what you do before a presentation. But it's all good doing that before, but if you crumble when you're doing the presentation, it's pointless, which is why we're going to go on to what you do during a presentation. When I was fighting, you've got fight night fighters and you've got gym fighters. Now, gym fighters are basically the ones that seem really smart at work. They're the gym fighters. Then you've got the fight night fighters, the people that can talk and express themselves in front of random people. Now, you want to be a fight night fighter. You don't want to be a gym fighter. And this is exactly how you will do it, by thinking of these two things. Now, this is what you need to do first. Because imagine you're in the gym, and me and you, we've never seen each other before, ever. And I'm seeing you do the bench press, and I'm like, oh, that technique's a bit off. Well, I'm gonna go tell him. I'm gonna tell him, or tell her, I'm gonna go tell him that the bench pressing technique's awful. So I'll walk over to you and I go, excuse me, when you're doing your bench press there, you're not going all the way down, it's not good enough. You need to make sure you go all the way down, the bar hits the chest, and then you go all the way up again. You're gonna be thinking, who the fuck's this dude to tell me that? I don't even know who he is. But if I went over to you, I started having a conversation, I started asking about your trainers, where you got them from, we started having a laugh. And then I said, oh, do you mind me just giving you a few pointers on your bench technique? You'd be like, yeah, give it over. It's the same with presentations. So before you get into the meat of your presentation, you want to build that connection with your audience, because then it will let their guard down. As soon as you connect with people, you can influence and persuade them a lot more because they like you. So how do you build that connection? Well, you could have personal stories. You could have relatable stories. For example, for a relatable story, in one of my speeches, I went, when I was younger, my mum had some non-negotiables, and no matter what, I had to do them. The reason that works is because everybody's mum had non-negotiables. You could come out with some humor. You could connect through shared struggle, or you could make an observation. But all these ways are techniques that you can use to build that connection from the very start. Because once you've built that connection, you're more likely to inspire and persuade people and guide them to what you want them to think, feel, or do after listening to you. That's the first thing. And the second thing with what you need to do during a presentation is pick out the good people. It might sound a bit weird, but you'll be doing that presentation, looking around, and there'll be some people you don't even like the look of. Maybe it's the face. Maybe it's the facial expressions. Maybe it's they're not paying attention, but they will put you off. So pick the people out there that you like the look of. People that seem engaged, because they will inspire you to put more enthusiasm, put more volume, build more connection within your presentation. But if you're looking at someone like this, and it looks like they want to go home, or it looks like they're not asked, you're going to dim down your lights. And you're not going to be able to showcase what you really want to showcase. So we've got the before, we've got the during, but the after makes all the difference. And remember, before I go into that, if you want that poster, like this, and the 11 emails that come alongside for totally free, check out that link below. And that will give you a clear structure to follow if you've got to do a presentation at work. So when I was fighting, I would review the footage, either on film or just how it actually went in case it wasn't filmed. I then would see what habits I was doing, what habits were bad. I would then isolate those habits in training and then work on using those drills to put it into sparring and then onto performing for my next fight to make sure I wasn't doing those bad habits anymore. It's the same with your presentations. See where you struggled. Was it saying ums and ahs? Was it storytelling? Was it connecting with the audience? Was it eye contact? See what you struggled with, review it, build that awareness, and then isolate the drill to improve that certain area, use it when you rehearse, and then try and smash it and eliminate the problem when you're giving the presentations. And that's how you will come full cycle and improve yourself as a public speaker and as a presenter, so you can showcase your skills, your talents, your intelligence to everybody that is watching. And that is the 3 stages to becoming a good public speaker, to being a good presenter, to being comfortable in your own body and being able to access those skills, those talents, that intelligence, so you can showcase that in front of everybody. Because there's nothing worse than not being able to get the thoughts in your head out in a way that engages the audience, but not only engages the audience, that when they walk out that door, they actually remember what you are saying, and they remember you, and they remember your points, so they can act on those points for the future. And like I said, if you want that poster, link below. And if you enjoyed this video, you'll probably enjoy this one too. Adios.